Hey, I'm Robert Rushing.
And I'm Joe Brown.
And we're
the Old Government Guys.
Old Government Guys is a podcast where we seek to highlight ordinary feds who do extraordinary things and shed light on and recognize your friends, family, and neighbors who comprise the government workforce. Often their work goes unnoticed, and we want to put a face on your fellow feds and share with you their stories and accomplishments in a fun and respectful way. Hey, Old Government Guy Robert here. Welcome to episode 6, where I sit down with retired Colonel Dean Hartman. Dean's interview is a little long, so we're going to split that into 2 episodes. For the last half of this episode, we'll go back and visit with Mr. John Gibson again, who has yet another funny story he'd like to share. And if you don't mind, rate the podcast. Leave a comment. We enjoy reading the comments, and we're trying to make this podcast better by incorporating your feedback. By rating and providing comments, you also help others to find the show. That's just how the algorithm works. Thank you. All right. So, hey, I'm Robert Rushing, one of the Old Government Guys, and I'm genuine when I say this. I get to sit down with the number one most requested person. Everyone's like, you got to interview Dean Hartman. You got to interview Dean Hartman.
That's a setup.
So, retired Colonel Dean Hartman, who was also an Air Force civil engineer and had a pretty interesting career. So that's all the intro you get, man. You got it's sink or swim time.
Now let's go. Yeah. Throw in the deep end and go for it.
The deep end. So yeah, why don't you just tell us a little bit about kind of how long you served and a little bit about your career.
Yeah, I want to start though, if it's okay, with kind of what you and I had a chance to share a beverage, break some bread the other night, and because of the group that we're talking to, I just want to say, it's an honor to spend 30 years serving with what I think are some of the most talented, driven, capable people. There's a few that we want to throw in the wood chipper. I would admit that. Right. All of us have seen those, but whether you're government, industry, everybody's got a few. But I'll tell you what, we had a really good team. Yeah. And I have a lot of good memories that we'll talk about, some of them that are PG-13. But I just wanted to start with, and I've got a couple of you in the room that I really, really enjoyed working with. Amazed at the talent level, amazed at the drive, and just the success. Some people don't understand the mission demands sometimes. Sometimes it's a real quick turn and burn, got to get something done to make the mission happen. Other times it's kind of more that strategic thinking. But all in all, folks that worked in Air Force Civil Engineer and really the government when it comes to DOD, DOW, a lot of talent. So just an honor to work alongside and serve with those folks throughout. Journey started, go Gators. Got to get that in there. Maybe we'll have a football team this year. So any Georgia Bulldog fans out there, you suck.
Or Kentucky lame cats.
Yeah. And that's true because they've actually had our number for a little while. So T-Nuts out there, enjoy it while you can. We'll be back for sure. But enjoyed 5 years at the University of Florida. Had a good time. The shitty GPA to prove it. And then actually, when it came time, there was a decision to make, and I actually wanted to be a bioenvironmental engineer because that's what my dad was. He served a full career as an Air Force bioenvironmental engineer, and fortunately for me, I love our bees, but they're the bastard children of the hospital, and I'm so glad that I really wasn't there. CE came a call in, and the call was like, "How about Laughlin?" I'm like, "Who? Laughlin? Where's that?" They're like, "Texas." I'm like, "Oh shit. Okay, let me see." So you start going, and I'm like, "Well, there's San Antonio," and you keep going. You're like, "Is that Mexico or is that Texas?" And it's like, yes. Back in the early 90s, it was yes, because actually the Border Patrol station was like 30 miles east of Del Rio. You had to get a border station. They just kind of let that was like the Badlands. Like, you're out there, go. But started out at Laughlin, actually that was formative for me. And I'll talk a little bit of story there because there were some really wonderful people that are still in my life. Yeah. And a lot of talent. Now, I'll tell you what, though, it is out there back in the 90s. Korea followed that. Very formative for me, too. That's why I spent the time I did in uniform. I'll have a couple things there because I was going to do 4 years. I owed them for paying some ROTC scholarship, and I was done. That was my plan, but Korea changed that significantly. Came back. I wanted to go to school, and I actually got my butt hurt because they said, your grades suck. And I'm like, I know, but I'm okay. I can do school. And they told me again, your grades suck. But so I went to Korea, and you're supposed to get a follow-on. Like a dumbass, I went over there without a follow-on, so my follow-on was Shepherd up in Wichita Falls, which actually was another really good assignment with great people. After that, then I did get a chance to go to school, and school was something that I realized if you're somewhat sober, if you're getting paid, that's your job to go to school. And oh, by the way, you're taking classes for your thesis. That is something that I was really excited about. So that was a good time. And then spent some time in Hawaii, did the PAC-FIG, and that was really formative for me because I really learned what the Pacific Theater Fight was about. After that, had a chance kind of to go to Misawa, and left there and got to go to ACSC for a little bit. So, that intermediate command and staff college school. Back then, the Pentagon used to shop the school list a little bit. So had an opportunity to do the Pentagon, and I'll definitely have stories there because I love Miss Rita. She taught us a ton about how to do money, how to understand money, how to do the whole kind of programming, budgeting, execution cycle. And that paid dividends throughout my whole career. After that, got a chance to command at Elmendorf. Huge base with the F-22 bed down. Another team that was just, I was talking to one of them just yesterday, and I had a lot of good things to say about them because there's some things we did there that were just amazing that not a normal engineering flight could have done. And so really, was excited and proud to be there. After that, got a chance to come back to Texas, work with DMAR and some of the other group in the headquarters AETC. So it was like Fitz and DMAR and the whole crew there. Enjoyed the headquarters AETC time. Then when it came time, I was fortunate enough, I'm up upon promotion where I was thinking, the last thing I was thinking was Joint Base Andrews. Because no hate. I mean, AFDW is a critical kind of component of our Air Force and our military, and that mission set, you just don't know how important it is till you're there. But once there, you're like, wow, this is a little politically charged environment. And they picked someone like Hartman with my potty mouth and who I was, and it was just like, that was a great opportunity as well. That was a test because everybody there, I felt like the dummy, and that's hard to do because engineers, we feel okay, we get this. We know missions and we know requirements as good as anybody. There, I would say that was the cream of the crop. So then they got the crop dust with me. But after that, got a chance to come back to AFCEC, and that's again where we got to meet. And staying 6 years. Some people still laugh about it, but I was so excited when we got started on kind of Air Force program build, Air Force asset management, kind of strategic infrastructure, plans and stuff. It was exciting. And we had really good people, small but mighty, not a huge directorate, but we were good and we were good at it. So, spent the last 6 years there and it was time though. I mean, they were actually offering people to stay over 30 years. And I thought about it just because of the mission set, but it was time for Dean to move on. There was enough good, smart, capable people. Yeah. Organizations were changing a little bit too, and sometimes if your legacy, you struggle to let go of some things, and so it was time for Dean to pack it up. So
yeah, so I think we share a lot of fond memories about working in P&I, mighty P&I.
Yes.
But for me, when I look at my career, I don't know that I've seen a concentration of more innovative folks than what we had in that office.
And the mission set to do it. I would agree. I mean, everybody had their little names, but everybody from Miss Controversy over to Pinky Ring, to Big Deal. And I mean, but that was out of kind of admiration and respect for what people did. That group, I'm telling you, bring it a wicked problem. And we're like, hell yeah, bring it. Let's solve it. And I remember Randy Brown used to call us his kind of like skunk works. And I've respected him for allowing us to do what we did, because whether it's General Spacey, whoever had a problem, like, you don't want to take this on? The answer was yes.
Yeah.
We're like, we've been bitching about this all our careers, something like the I2S. And I was like, let's go.
Right.
And you took the Rolodex on some things where it's like, got this disparate stuff. How do we make decisions on everything from a bed down to where can we put something to what are the real constraints? I mean, I just remember the first time I saw that, I'm like, wow, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
And so all of the innovation, all of the kind of advancement of what civil engineers need to do, I saw so much good there. That's why I stayed so long. I mean, I was just like, I don't want to leave this. This is good.
And you know, throughout the course of my interviews, I've talked about with folks kind of who was, you know, who helped shape their career, who do they enjoy working for. And I think the kind of the theme has been, if you've got a manager who realizes they've got talent and you just kind of wind them up and get out of the way, I feel like that's what, you know, CP was. Because to your point, like, bring the hard challenges and we bring them. And it's not like you and I were sitting around micromanaging people. It's like you just kind of go, hey, you know, Lindsay, right? Miss Controversy. Yeah. But not Red Dot, right? We'll talk about Red Dot later.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, and it was just a lot of.
Although you got to be truthful now, you did have your whiteboard, and you would bring the students in, and it was whiteboard time. And I would be like, "Oh shit, they're in the room now. They're going to get the whiteboard." It's good. Now you come out with some brilliance, I'll admit, but there was some whiteboard training to be done. I'll tell you, some of your acolytes, though, they still do that to this day.
Yeah.
They understand that you can map something out on the whiteboard. I still laugh about it because one of the things I used to like to do to you, because I knew you had a brilliant mind, was just talk to me. Don't put it on, because you immediately wanted to go to the board.
Like, I got to draw a picture.
Whiteboard. I got to lay it out. I'm like, just tell me. And you'd see this twitching. It's like, but I need to write it. And I'm like, just tell me. Oh, no. I used to love to do that because you're like, I can, but let me just draw it out. I'm like, no, just tell me.
Jeez.
That was a little bit of torturing, but it was awesome. That, and I think you're, because I knew you were really good at the whole kind of, whether it was the planning, which was your core business, but then when you got into kind of activity management, asset management, I mean, you kind of flourished there. But that's when it's like, okay, this dude thinks he's pretty good. So I remember that one of those, that first kind of, okay, it's time to give like the feedback report. Right. So I was like, took that stupid ass form and it's like, tried to draw an arrow below 0 and put it over there. And it's like, all the way down. You suck. We're done. Here's your feedback.
Oh,
and you made a shirt out of that, which was pretty cool.
I did. my best feedback ever.
That one in the 360. That where you went, where that lady had not to pick, but I don't know what the hell that was all about. It was like senior leader lobotomy and like indoctrination. I think you had the worst Kool-Aid, but it was like, I remember you were like rubbing raisins or some shit. Something was going on there it was off the res. But it was like, I remember before going to that, you asked me to do that 360.
Did you do the 360?
Oh my God. I said, you know what? I'm going to have fun with this one. Because then I was going to say, we'll see if somebody reads it, because they will say something if they did.
And they did, because she brought me in and was like, I wonder, like, so I can tell you exactly who that was. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I remember putting some crazy stuff on there. I'm like, if somebody actually does read this, you're going to get some feedback.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
I think that helped to determine which Muppet I was.
Grover.
So,
yeah.
Looking back at your career, do you have a duty station that, and I know that you've got, you know, like you said, a lot of good connections and things, but was there a favorite for you?
I think Elmendorf was probably that, or Misawa. It's hard because both of them were formative. I think Elmendorf was probably one of my favorite, just because young kid. I got a chance to do command, but I was interim at Misawa, and you're it, but you're not really it. The boss was downrange. At Misawa, when I first got there, I went downrange right away. I mean, you had to sign a waiver to leave within like the first 45 days. But the boss was cool. He's like, hey, I need you to go down. We're getting ready to fight the Second Gulf War. And then I came back from that because they paused it and we didn't get in the fight yet. But then the boss took, I remember the chief telling me, he's like, you might want to see this. He's like, the boss took, because they built IUD.
Yeah.
And they took like over 200 of, you know, our engineer folks and the talented ones. It wasn't like there wasn't any talent left, because there were some really good people. But I came back to a thin squadron with a lot of JNs and an IG coming and a mission set, and I had to grow up a lot. And you learn where you need your good people, and you learn where you're weak, and you learn where you need people to bolster you up. And I learned a lot at Misawa, because if you think you're good, get thrust into that leadership opportunity, and when you struggle a little bit, you learn a lot. But really, I think Elmendorf, bedding down the F-22, tail end of the C-17, Air National Guard, because a BRAC was coming over to Elmendorf. We were doing joint basing, and it was not a love fest, even though there was a shared fence line. You know, Fort Richardson was a very proud installation, very proud Army. Elmendorf, proud installation, good legacy, proud Air Force. I saw the benefits, but it was not easy. That was not a that was a forced marriage, but people had to learn, we're going to do this and we're going to do this right. So that took a lot of collective leadership. It wasn't just Dean, because we were forming a group too. The squadron, the 3rd CES, was almost group level. It was like 750 Massive. People. You bring on all the winter hires, which, oh, by the way, you want to talk some really cool people that live in the bush that come out to move snow. These guys are half Yetis. I mean, there was these big, I'm like, how big do they grow these people? They'd come in, but they were awesome. They'd be in the snow barn and, they'd get on the machines and do their thing. And a lot of them would go back in the summertime, time to go back to the bush. They'd be off the grid and gone again like a grizzly. But bedding down the F-22, and really one of my stories there, we work closely with Alaska District of the Corps, and we all understand that's got to be a team sport. And there is no hate on the Alaska District. They have some really talented people. We were struggling to get some projects actually even awarded. They were bundling, they were trying all these acquisition methods, and they were coming in way too high. We didn't have the money for it. And somebody brought us an unsolicited proposal to do these F-22 weather shelters. And the team came to me and said, this looks like it can, like, reasonable. And then we had a heart-to-heart. I'm like, okay, reasonable is one thing. I'm like, this is how this goes. If you're going to ask for agency of a MilCon project where they do not want to give it to us, we've got some prove-it things to do.
Yes.
And we went through that kind of drill, not in heavy detail, because it was a concept. It wasn't a stack of full design. It was a concept. It was a design build, right? And so we went through that. My team, it didn't take much. I just said, you guys tell me we can do this and we'll do it. I said, it's going to be a shitstorm. And sure enough, I let certain people know that we were going to press forward, like some of the wing leadership. Once PACAF found out about it, because I didn't call the PACAF leadership right away. I'm like, this is going to blow up. And I remember that it was funny because they tried good cop, bad cop. And Danny Barnett was my deputy. And if you know Danny, I mean, I love the dude, but he's an Alaskan to the T. He's, if he doesn't like something, he's like, fuck you, hell with you, go kiss my ass. And so the good cop it was John, and I'll just leave the name, called him. So the PACAF deputy A7C called him, and he pretty much told him, we're doing this, have a nice day in probably stronger terms. So then I get a phone call, and the first thing I hear when I pick up the phone is, take off the GD Lone Ranger mask. What the F are you doing? And it was like a 30-minute just like boom. And I was like, well, it's on. That's kind of what I figured would happen. But actually, so it was Bill, and he wasn't wrong because he didn't know what we were trying to do. But in the end, I credit him. I credit General Uhlberg. There's a lot of folks that once they understood what we were trying to do, supported us. We took agency on that MilCon, and you have to be smart about it because I told the installation, if we take this, we own this. Yeah. We have to run this project. But I knew we had the talented people back in the day, Sean Mosier, Bob McElroy. I remember them clearly because they were our PMs, and they ran that project just like a design build should be. I saw some things, the F-22 and the other kind of some of these other shelter areas. The flue system, it blows so hot out of the APU, it was burning out the mechanical, and it was blowing back and burning the skin of an F-22, which is bad juju. It's expensive and puts it out of service, and people freak out, right? So they came up with a novel concept of an easy flue evacuation, no mechanical pieces. The B, and this is where I love the Bs, our people, the designer, that was just one thing. I mean, they came up with so many things. We awarded that project. I want to say we couldn't get it for $30 million through the traditional process. We awarded that thing at like 19. And oh, by the way, we created the flue system. We did different kind of door system. We got power. there wasn't actually restrooms out there. And in Alaska, I'm just telling you, to go from the flight line all the way back over to the buildings, not only is it the time, but there's times a year when it's brutal. It's pretty cold. And people up in Fairbanks would say, Anchorage, kiss my ass. But it still gets cold out on the ramp. And so all the things that we really wanted in this building, we got, and we did it for like, that was about 11 million less than we couldn't get it for that was programmed. And so I just, that to this day opened my eyes of what design build can be. And I credit the team. I would say in Alaska, the saying we had was the odds are good, but the goods are odd, because there's those people, I love them, but they are crazy, some bitches up there, man. That's probably why I liked them so much, because I fit in. But super talented, all the shop people. We had a lot of military that took off the uniform, and sometimes you worry, do they still have it? You know, if you took off the uniform, do you still have that same drive? Yeah. To, you know, you're not coasting. You're not just punching a time card. They never did. They never did. I mean, I had the leadership that you would dream of, that was running shops, that was running engineering, that was running that whole place ran well with a dynamic mission. And then the last thing I'll say, General Schwartz came up because the F-22 was struggling, the bed down before we took that MILCON. And I'm not saying that saved the day. That was just one piece. But like the LO kind of composite repair, low observable, there were several, the floor that was jacked up. Several buildings were struggling. There was problems, deficiencies, I'll say, just to put it nicely. And Schwartz, you know, people are like in the Air Force, like, what's going on? It's like the boss wants to come up. It's like, please, because we'll show him exactly what's going on. And it's not an easy, and I think General Chandler, so Howie Chandler was the PACAF guy to start with, and I liked him, but he was pretty matter of fact. If you got in the room with him, and it wasn't normally at me. I mean, he was talking to the senior leadership. It was Alcom, it was the wing, but he was pretty directive, man. And I was like, oh, he's not happy. And he doesn't have to say I'm not happy. It exuded. I'm not happy. You guys need to get this shit on track. But General Schwartz came up there the one time, and we just showed him the truth. I mean, here's what's going on. Here's the problems. Here's what's going well, because some projects were going well, but you probably had about 8 projects going on at the same time. And an LOCRF building is very complex. HVAC's very complex, humidity controls, flooring, everything it's not building a dorm. And I don't mean to pick, but it's just not. And so after he had that kind of the whole tour, he went back and decided, I'm calling in the audit agency on Corps of Engineers. And so you think the MILCON agency was a shitstorm. I don't know that's been precedented where an Air Force entity has said, I'm calling in my audit agency to audit you, another service. Right. Oh my God. Their first answer was like, you can kiss my eyes. I'm like, that's not going to work, guys. We got to go through this. So to their credit, I mean, talk about a reluctant warrior. They did, but it was just, that was another interesting little part of that whole tour. But we got through. Actually, we stood up the 673rd. I gave Russ Hula, he came in as the first 673rd commander. I actually got a CEG. It's on my paper where I think for like a week or something, I was the 673rd CEG guy. We had plane crashes during that time, I remember earthquakes. And then I remember actually volcanoes were probably the biggest thing that we learned. Talk about evolution. So once we knew, and I forget whether it was Eklutna, Etna, one of the mountains out in the chain was popping off big time. And I mean, I'm talking sometimes it was only 10,000 feet. Sometimes it'd shoot at 60,000 feet. And you can't have F-22s and other aircraft out there on the ramp taking ash, or operations, and they want to pack them in. And so every time, and it was burping a couple times a day. So we were living in kind of the EOC, and I'm like, there's got to be a better way than this. We do not have to sequester. And we worked with the weather folks, the readiness folks, and they built a model that showed that almost like you would with a chemical, we had a chemical
like a plume,
jack. Yep, it was plume modeling and saying, okay, it went up 50,000 feet, winds are this direction, prevalent, it's not going to get here. It's not going to make it. No worries, boss. Or it went up 40,000 feet, the winds are coming our way, we're going to get ash. Yeah. And so we learned, that was kind of a cool thing. It's simplistic, but the natural reaction is, okay, we got to run the EOC. And we were in there for like 4 or 5 days. And that's when I saw Step Brothers like 8 times. And that movie goes from the stupidest movie I ever saw to one of the funniest I've ever seen. Over about 4 days of just indoctrination, I'm like, that's a great movie. Put on Step Brothers. But that kind of, just that kind of creativity. And we went through, we won Sync Installation Excellence Award. I remember that's a complete team effort. Alcom, everybody. But I mean, I was like, this bass, nobody can touch us.
Yeah.
And, there's just a ton of accolades. And he was a part of it. He was a big part of it. So
is that where one of your troops buried their backhoe? Was that Elmendorf?
No, that was Joint Base Andrews.
Andrews? All right, yeah.
So if I don't want to name names. Mike, last name begins with a Z, who was, dude, I respect and admire a ton.
Yeah.
Both Rocky and him. I was blessed at Joint Base Andrews when I was in Mission Support Group to have BCEs you could only dream of. You love it when people are way smarter than you, way more capable than you. Help them when they need help and stay out of their way. But there is a time when, in this case, if you know this individual, if you've ever had a phone call from Mike Z, he's larger than life, and you can usually put the phone across the room and hear it. It's like it'll blow your ear out. And then I got the puppy dog voice one time. He's like, I got to tell you something. I'm like, you're scaring me, dude. What's up? What's going on? And he's like, well, and he kind of laid it out. And so it's one of the things I tell some of the junior officers when I used to get to do flight, flight commanders or ops commander courses at AFIT. And I was like, if the boss asks for pictures, think twice. Because I was like, send me some pictures. And sure enough, he did. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, man. There are a couple lessons learned. When you're in a hole, stop digging.
Stop digging.
Careful when you send the boss. That thing was buried up halfway the cab and then halfway up the window. I don't know how you get a backhoe that deep in. That was deep.
I've got a picture. I'll show it. Yeah.
That's but we worked through it. We dealt with it. It's stuff happens. They were trying to do something that needed to be done, which is that outfall has been a historical problem. Just don't go out there when it's raining and wet and turns into quicksand. And then the kids were trying to dig their way out. And then it's kind of funny because you picture yourself as a kid. It's like, we can't tell dad yet. We gotta fix it ourselves. Yeah. So then they get another thing out there to try to pull it out. And they realize, luckily they didn't get that stuck. I think they almost did. They realized there's no way to get this thing out. It's too wet. It's almost like it's a suction cup. You can't get it out. And then they told Dad, and Dad called Uncle. I call the group. You're like this weird uncle, because Dad, owns the kids. Wing commander owns these squadron commanders. As a group commander, you're just this uncle.
Yeah.
And then so Dad called Uncle, and that's when I was like, send me some pictures, and the rest is history.
So I'm going to ask you to tell a story because I think Andrews, that's where you're exposed to witchcraft.
Yeah. So that's pretty. I had to admit that's pretty good. So, and I got some stories I'd like to go back if we could.
We do
Laughlin or something, depending on how much time, or maybe we do.
We've got
time. Version 2 if people give a shit. But yeah, so around that area, there was, like a lot of installations, there was a lot of encroachment development. Right. And oh, by the way, and I respect the clergy, but the clergy wanted to do some mega churches in incompatible zones. And they were pushing. They had a strong lobby. I'll give it to them. And so did other business people. It wasn't just them. Folks wanted to develop some of this land because it's lucrative, right? So I was the one. We were pushing for a military installation overlay zone, and if you understand what that is, it limits what you can do in some of those zones. Not just APZ. It goes a little bit beyond that because it's noise. It's risk of. The problem is, and it's a good problem, an accident hadn't happened in a long time.
Right.
And part of what I would tell them, though, is if and when it does, do you want to be the one to say, I fought against zoning this so that school didn't get hit by, blue and white, or another aircraft? People are going to start pointing fingers like, how did we build a mega church that's got schools in this zone and a plane hit it? Because if you look at the statistics, where they're going to crash, it's pretty clear where the risk is at. And that's why we have APZ 1 and 2. But then you go beyond that, and there's still some significant risk there. And we were trying to get this overlay zone. And county council had, and Prince George's County is an interesting mix. It's diverse, man. I mean, there's all sorts of interest there. I mean, you've got kind of more almost inner city type activity right there around Joint Base Andrews. You've got people with like large acreage and stables and like mansions and stuff in another part. I mean, it's just this diverse mix. So it's cool. It's interesting. But so I go to county council because I don't know if people had done this before. I was part of kind of like the working group that was addressing this. And it wasn't to go be a political statement. I just wanted them to understand, hey, from the government military perspective, I appreciate what you're doing, because it wasn't necessarily our proposal. It was theirs to carry, but I was an advocate for it because of the mission. And oh, by the way, I had to explain to them, do you understand the revenue generation from this mission here? Right. I mean, you're talking $3 to $4 billion easily per year. We had estimates up to 6. So everybody's counting all their other chickens and numbers, and I'm like, between employment, what comes in here, the revenue, don't forget about that. But so I get in there, and I was first up, which is usually good, but not always. So yeah, I mean, and they were trying to say, they wanted me to tell them, tell us to do this. And I'm like, this, in a nice way, this is your decision, but here's why I'm an advocate for it. Right. So I went through the risk and, some of the discussion. And then the very next person up, he's like, we got a problem here. I see some witchcraft up in here and it's coming from there. And he pointed right to me and I'm like, holy shit, he just called me a witch. I was kind of like a little bit appalled, but a little bit like, that's pretty good, because I'm like, witchcraft, when you pull that out in a council meeting, I'm like, well, damn, that's going for the jugular. And then, so I sat there through the rest of them. Yeah, it wasn't appreciative of me because there was probably about 5 or 6 clergy and a couple other businesses that wanted to build out there. Yeah. And I told them afterwards, I'm like, I know I respect y'all. I mean, you got an important mission too, but the last thing you want, God forbid, is something to happen there. Because if it does, you're going to regret this for a long time. And ultimately the council, we had a couple other sessions, the county executive, some of those people, they got it. They knew what was going on. They had to take their time to calm down the herd and get them to realize. And when they did that, it was a little bit after I left. Bill Kale was there and he sent me the note. They approved the MIOZ. So I'm like, you know what? Right answer. But yeah, getting accused of witchcraft, that was a first.
That's one of my favorite
I've been
stories,
accused. I've been called a lot of names, but it's like witchcraft. Where the hell's that come from?
I didn't even know the wizard. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Now I know a wizard, so I'm like, it might be more plausible now.
Yeah. So you wanted to talk about Del Rio?
Yeah. So I mean, it's one of those. So there's beverages involved. So I'll try to keep it like PG-13. But I mean, it's one of those. So that place was formative because we called it the gold mine. There was like 4 or 5 of us second lieutenants. Right. There was 4 of us in design. And if you get fresh out of school and you're like, okay, go ahead and design. Even though some were simple buildings, I'm like, I can't do structural, I can't do electrical. But it gave us an opportunity to work with engineers that could. And then we also ran a bunch of AE contracts. But back then, one of the things we did was go oversee that Acuna a lot. And I mean, that was probably every other week. And then another week would be up here in San Antonio because all the bases were open and we could get building. But you go over there and there's Mock Crosby's is a good place. They have these fishbowl margaritas that are pretty effective. And then there's a whole bunch. I mean, there's really good food. Don't get me wrong. It's really good food. It was a fun time and everybody enjoyed themselves. One thing you don't do, just like New Orleans, is find a bathroom on the street, which was not me, but a buddy of mine. And the Popo came around and luckily it was done. So we kind of had plausible deniability, but basically I gave up everything I had in my wallet because they were going to take him to jail. And that's the last, because you may not come back, number one. Since you're U.S. military, you will be found, but there's a whole lot of drama and trouble. And, oh, by the way, you're going to be there that night before somebody realizes they can come get you. And you do not want to be in those locations. So I had no money left. And then, so I'm having beverages with other friends. And me and this dude, you'd never lose your wingman, but I lost my wingman. I don't know where he went because he was tore up and he's off running somewhere. And then I decided I've had enough. It's time to go home. I got no ride. I don't know nobody. It's late and there's nobody around. And I'm like, the only way to get back across the bridge, you have to have a dime. You have to have money. So you had, back then it was like a dime to pay the guy on the Mexican side to walk across the bridge. I had nothing. And I'm like, I probably should have thought I should have just begged somebody, but it was actually really late. There was hardly anybody out. And so I'm like, well, damn, I guess I got to sneak across. So he's kind of like, the Mexican guard's kind of just sitting there in this thing, and I see him, I'm like, I got my chance. So I sneak down, and if you see where the bridge is, it kind of, you can walk down, and then there was like a water pipe, and I did a hand over hand past him. So they got this guard shack up there on the bridge, and I'm doing hand over hand on this bridge to get past this Mexican guard. And I got about halfway to the bridge, I'm like, I might fall. I'm going to die. Because actually the water down there, normally you see people washing cars and clothes and stuff. I mean, it's late at night, so they're not doing that. But it's like, there's not a whole lot of water. It's like, this is not good. So I went ahead and pulled myself back up and got back on the bridge. And he didn't catch me, see anything. I would have ran anyway. But then I get across and I'm like, I got no money for a taxi. Because you hit our border station. And, they were like, just get away, kid. I was like, anybody got anything? Anybody going to town? And I just go away. And then I realized, you start kind of coming to reality a little bit. I'm like, dude, it's like about 12 miles back to Del Rio, back to the base. At least it's a ways, right? I'm like, well, shit, I guess I'm hoofing it. And then I started hoofing it. And I don't know how long I hoofed it, but then somebody was kind enough to pull over. That was a mistake because that person was not right. Things were said, and there was fixing to be fisticuffs in the car because I remember the person was just odd and weird. There was things being asked for. And it's like, get me out of here. Let me out in the middle of nowhere again because I wasn't in. No, it was then we had gotten through Del Rio because I remember between Del Rio and the base, that's about a 4-mile run or something like that. And I was somewhere in there. I'm like, so I think I can make it. But I remember the sun started coming up, man. And it was like somebody else was coming home and stopped and pulled because luckily I didn't live on the base. I lived we called it Fape Way. It was like Gateway Apartments, which is like right across from the gate. But yeah, it's to have to break back into U.S. because you got no money. Not even a dime. That was horrible, but fun. Just one of many, and that's PG-13. There's plenty of others. So, and that was Murph's fault. So I'll just name the name Murph. We call him the Sandpaper Man because he rubbed everybody wrong. I love the dude to death, but he was a cool, interesting cat. I think he went off and flew like C-17s and stuff. Oh, wow. So he became. And another dude, to his credit, I don't know how he did it. It told me he was smart enough. He was studying on the side, and I didn't know it. And all the partying and all the things we were doing as lieutenants. I mean, we worked really hard, but we played hard. He was studying on the side. He went after a night of doing what we were doing, took the PE exam and passed.
Wow!
I don't know how he did it.
Wow, that's amazing.
It told me, I was like, that dude's smarter than I knew. So,
well, do you have any good stories about Shepherd? Because that's where I think were introduced to or at least introduced your bride to tornadoes.
Yeah. Well, so the first driving in, when we came back from Korea, we stopped through Florida to see family and stuff and, picked up her vehicle. Actually, no, that was Japan. We did get a new vehicle coming back and drove out there. Yeah. So, it's not necessarily funny, but it's just like, I remember you were driving and all of a sudden you see, there's nobody on the road, and I'm like, wow, all these cars under the overpasses. What's going on? All of a sudden, dun, 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 dun. It's like, holy shit, man, look at the size of that hail. And then I'm like, then you realize you look over, it's like, oh, that's not good. Because I don't know, it was Iowa Park was the town that was close there. I think there were a lot of trailers and stuff or manufactured homes, whatever you want to call them. That was like the magnet. It's like, just don't go to Iowa Park because that's where the tornadoes are going to hit every time. But I just remember on the way out there, she looked at me and said, where in the hell are you taking me? Because hail was hitting the car and you see these storms. And when those storms up there, when they'd roll off that cap rock, they called it, you'd see these things come in and it's like, oh, geez. There's storms that kind of excite you and there's storms that scare you. Just based on the kind of brutal look and the lightning and what's coming, you're like, uh-oh. Uh-oh. And actually, I did readiness up there and we would show, I forget what year it hit, but a wedge tornado hit there and took out like half the town. And it killed, I don't know, it wasn't 100, but it killed a lot of folks. And I mean, something like that, because that was like, this could happen. And that was one of those big wedge tornadoes that just, where it went, there was nothing left, absolutely nothing left. So that could happen. But good people up there, some of the best brisket I've ever had. I don't think Doug's still with us, unfortunately, but call him Santa Claus. The dude looked just like Santa Claus. I swear to God, and he did do Santa Claus in when it came Christmas time, but that dude could cook the best brisket. And I remember 4th of July, Sayang used to give up on me back in the day because I'd go out, I'm like, I'm cooking with Doug. She's like, oh geez, here we go. Because I learned the first time I went out cooking with him, he did the brisket all night. He'd, slow cook it, but he'd stay with it. But he'd bring 2 jugs, like 175s of Crown Royal. And that's Crown Royal and ice. That was, you don't need water. There you go. Jeez Louise. I mean, it's like, by the next day when 4th of July rolls around, you're like, speaking in tongues and shit. Because, like, what do you do to me, Doug? But just another place where you would look at it and say, God, I don't want to go there. But some really good people. Mark McBurnett recently retired. Oki, my boy Oki, because him and call him Dalrod, Dallas, they all were, they were OSU guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, because there was that whole, OSU wasn't big back then, but there was like that Red River rivalry. I mean, I'm a Gator boy, so I'm trying to think. We weren't super good back then. We were in that low period, but Oklahoma and Texas, man, those people up there, they were ready to go to fisticuffs over that stuff.
Oh, yeah. That was the big rivalry.
Because it's a blend up there. You got a little pollution from, all of them. It's not strictly Oklahoma, even though it's just right there on the border. But good folks. I think Korea too was forming. Like I said, I'll touch on that just because my story there is I'm surprised I'm married, number one, because when I saw Young, I was like, man, that's a beautiful young lady. I'd love to talk to her. And she kind of blew me off, didn't want to talk to me. She told one of my friends, I don't have time for this little kid, because they called me Babyface because I think I looked about 12 maybe. She's like, I don't have time for this kid. But so I set up a date. And I mean, that was my first time in a long time growing up. I grew up in Florida and stuff, being in the cold. And Korea was freaking cold, man. In the wintertime. So bless our veterans that served in the Korean War in that theater, and this was down south. I can't even imagine what it's like. I've been at the DMZ in the winter. That's cold enough. I can't imagine being far north because it's brutal cold. Because down there it's damp cold too. So it might be single digits, but it feels bone cold. It'll kill you. So we set up this date, and I'm out there like a dumbass. I mean, that first winter, I'm not used to the cold, so you can tell all the rookies, they wear that big-ass parka like you're in Antarctica. And I had one of those. Most normal people, they'll put on, something underneath, and then you got, back then it was, BDUs or whatever, and, they're fine. But I had that parka because it was like, it's too damn cold in here. She stood me up, man. I sat out there for like an hour and a half, freeze my ass off, and I'm like, what in the hell? So I went and found her that night. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, I'm just testing you. So I was like, I knew then. I'm like, he's got a chip. He's got something about it. So that was really. So we had a good time there. But I would tell you one of the things. Another good story though. We played war there a lot. This was back. It was hot in 93 to 95. I mean, there was a lot of tension then, and I mean we practiced war almost every month, whether it was a deliberate exercise or we practiced ourselves. And there's people that can do gas masks, and there's people that struggle with gas masks. And my brother Doug would laugh because we had this friend of ours. We called him the Melon because his head was so big. The dude, Greg, I won't name his last name. Greg, we call him the Melon. But a lot of us would be in the room where after you get attacked, you're kind of doing minimum operating strip. Can we get sorties in the air? Can we bring sorties back? Back then it was real antiquated. I mean, now there's way better ways to do it. Back then it was almost analog version. You'd get coordinates called in. You'd plot the craters, plot the damage, start to lay out. Okay, these are the kind of jets we have. What can we take off or not? And honestly, back then that was a high pressure situation because they needed to get the Vipers out or get something back in. And there was always this exercise created drama. But the boss, it was the SRC back then, Survival Recovery Center, and the boss would be at wing commander, everybody would be at the window waiting for the kids to do like, all right, kid, tell me, brief me. What are we going to do? Hurry up. And so it was always fun. But Keith, I just named his last name. Greg.
We'll bleep that out.
Greg, he struggled with the mask, and we knew this. So our thing, I mean, if you ever wanted to laugh, we'd go by him and just go like that, and he'd just go. The dude would lock up, man. He could not. He'd almost have to take his mask off. So the poor guy. I mean, and so we did it relentlessly because he'd be in there, he'd be doing something. I'd go by him and go, and it would mess with his head, and the dude couldn't. I don't know what it was with him. I think he was claustrophobic or something. But of course, when there's weakness, everybody exploits it.
Was it Korea where you buried your truck, or was that Japan?
That was Japan, but I did get a Humvee stuck in Korea, which is hard to do. I took it down by the river, which is very similar to Japan. And,
a van by the river.
Yep. And it was silt muck down there. It was kind of like a spoiled dirt area and stuff. And I took it down through there, and I got into stuff way in over my head. I owed the Dirt Boys a lot of beer for that because they had to come get me out. And a lieutenant that screws up like that, you're going to hear about it for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, in Japan, that was even with snow tires on. Yeah, there, Miss Vidal Beach, I remember, is a beautiful little beach. It was a little ways from the base. My kids used to love to go out there because you could play on the beach and stuff. But they loved when I'd take the truck and just kind of run it down the beach because you could drive on the beach out there. And you had all these runoff areas, especially during the winter, and they were probably 2, 4, 5 inches deep, just shower water up over the truck. I hit one time. I didn't realize it. It had dug out, and I hit about 3 feet of water. Actually, it was about a little over 2 feet of water, and it just and it dug in, and it was like, and I kicked it into low, and because I was just running, I'm like, oh, and it just sucked down. I'm like, we are stuck. This was Christmas Day, and it was cold, and it was snowing too. And then I was like, this sucks because there was no way to get it out. And I remember something similar happened to a young airman, and I got a complaint where CE had gone out and helped get him out. So one of my buddies, I called him up. He's like, "You want us to come out there?" I'm like, "No," because I just had to give some other kid hell about this. So then I had to call Say Young and say, "You have to come get the boys because the truck is stuck." My buddy Joel came out there with some beer, laughing at me, and he's like, "So they knew they called like the Japanese version of AAA or whatever, and that took that. It was Christmas Day. It took them like hours to get out there. Meanwhile, the tide was coming in, and the waves were coming in through because it was kind of tilted. My passenger side door, waves were coming in through the window. The tide had come up that much, and that truck was just sunk. And then there was like a couple other dudes came out there, and between AAA kind of like, and he had it on a jack, but he was like almost like bunch, kind of like pop it, and we were back there. I remember we were up to water like this, was freezing, and it was snowing, and we finally got that thing out, got it towed back to the base area, and Sam was like, "What is your problem? What is wrong with you, man? What happens to you? And you can't explain it. It's just like shit happens. So.
Yeah.
Good day at the beach. Hey,
Good day at the beach.
Merry Christmas.
Hey, Robert here. We'll hear the rest of Dean's interview with our next episode. Get ready to hear a second funny story from Mr. John Gibson. But first, let's hear from Mr. Bo Bloomer.
Hey, Robert Rushing here, and I'm with my friend Bo Bloomer. He's with Checkmate Group.
Yeah.
And Bo's going to tell you about the services that he can help you with if you're looking to PCS.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Robert. We're a real estate team. We're here with Century 21 Redwood. We have offices all over Northern Virginia, DC, and Maryland. And we help people find a house that they can make a home. And it's cool because both the civilian and military individuals who are coming in, who are PCSing in, they might just get their orders and they are already, looking to, usually it's one of the other, individual in the family, the spouse or whoever is like, hey, we need to find a house, got our orders, let's roll. And that's what we're here for. We're kind of your boots on the ground, and we can look over the horizon for you and scope out all the areas. One of the things that I absolutely love doing is Facebook or Facebook? No, FaceTime. There's so many different things out there. So FaceTime, we'll walk through properties with individuals and give them really good insight to homes, and so you can see things out here. Because a lot of times on the internet or on the various different websites, you're not going to see everything. But to have somebody walking through the house is pretty cool. So we're here to assist, but we're definitely here to help out with all things housing.
All right. And how do folks get a hold of you or find you?
So we're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all of those things. You can Google us and look at all of our reviews. And we're here, Bo Bloomer and the Checkmate Group, and looking forward to helping you out.
All right. And as a customer, I can 100% say that Bo is absolutely best in the business. Thanks, Bo.
Thanks so much, Robert. It was great working with you, and hopefully working with all the folks out there.
All right. Take care. Hey, it's Robert here, one of the old government guys, and I've got John Gibson with me today, an older government guy. And John, I understand you've got a story you want to share.
Okay, I got one more story that I want to share. On one of the ATEP inspections I went on to Luke Air Force Base, Arizona, I got really tight with the airfield team chief, who was the chief master sergeant. And this one had some tendency to get inebriated. So one night, during everybody's ATEP inspection, we're supposed to do a night lighting check. Well, we're supposed to do this night lighting check on Thursday night about 9:30. And about 7:30, the chief calls me and says, John, I'm sick. I can't go on this night lighting inspection. You take it. And I said, you sure I can do it, Chief? He said, go ahead, you'll be fine. It's just Luke Air Force Base, me and a little airman first class in a truck, driving all over the airfield looking at lighting. But the interesting thing was the wing flying F-16 was night flying that night. So you get out there on the end of the runway and you got 4 F-16s lighting out full afterburners, shooting planes 75 yards down the back of the airplane. I call this the greatest 3 hours of my Air Force career. Because I wasn't looking at lighting that night. I was looking at airplanes.
It's an air show.
Yeah.
It's a night air show.
A night air show just for me.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Hey, Robert here. If you find yourself traveling down I-40 in eastern Oklahoma and you need a quiet place for the night, stop in and see my friends Kelly and Jody at Ambassador's Inn and RV Park, where they aim to provide you 3 things: a clean room, your restful night's sleep, and probably a wacky story, because Kelly is full of them. But don't, and I repeat, do not let him tell you a joke. He's terrible at jokes. Kelly and Jody aim to provide a clean, quiet, uneventful stay. Ambassador's Inn and RV Park is an American-owned and operated small business where your peace and comfort are their top priority. You'll find Ambassador's Inn and RV Park at exit 278, where a safe and homely atmosphere awaits. Be sure and tell them the old government guy sent you. For more information, you can find Ambassador's Inn and RV on Facebook or give them a call at 918-463-3727. there you have it. We just wrapped up another episode of The Old Government Guys, a Rapid Point studio production. We're always on the lookout for new folks to highlight, so if you know someone who deserves to be recognized, let us know. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, we'd love to hear from you. Please reach out and send us a note at OGG@rapidpointstudio.com.
Old Government Guy Robert here. Just wanted to thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to like, follow, or subscribe, and make sure you tell a friend about the show. It's our goal to be your third favorite podcast, so keep the suggestions coming in as we work to mature our platform. And once again, thanks for tuning in.